There comes a moment in every woman's journey when silence becomes more powerful than words. Not because she's given up, not because she no longer cares, but because she's learned the sacred art of letting her energy speak. When someone pulls away, when messages are delayed, when attention fades, the instinct to chase often kicks in. We want to reach out, explain, fix, fill the space with our words. But what if the space itself holds more healing than any explanation ever could? Choosing not to text first isn't a game. It's not passive aggression. It's a declaration. I respect my peace more than your inconsistency. In a world that thrives on instant responses and digital validation, doing nothing might seem counterintuitive. But it's not nothing, it's everything. It's reclaiming your energy, your rhythm, your worth. Because silence, when rooted in self-respect, is not empty, it's full of intention. It says, I'm no longer performing to be chosen. I have already chosen myself. Letting go of the need to reach out first is not weakness. It's a realignment. It's returning to yourself after spending too long searching for yourself in someone else. And that return? That's where the healing begins. In the stillness, clarity rises. You begin to see who you were becoming in that constant dance of overgiving. You recognize the imbalance, and you begin to shift. Next, we'll delve deeper into how emotional chasing robs your peace and how you can ground your energy in mindfulness and self-trust. The power of doing nothing. There's a sacred moment between a heartbreak and a breakthrough. In that moment, the impulse to act, to text, to explain, to chase feels overwhelming. But what if, instead of doing something, you chose to do nothing? Not as a weapon, not as a punishment, but as a quiet act of self-respect. Doing nothing is not the same as giving up. It's choosing stillness over struggle, self-worth over validation, peace over panic. And that stillness, though uncomfortable at first, is where you start to hear yourself again. In the silence, your voice is no longer drowned out by the noise of mixed signals or endless overthinking. This is not about playing games. It's not about who texts first or who blocks who. It's about choosing yourself with a kind of steadiness that no longer begs to be noticed. When someone pulls away, when they stop showing up the way they used to, when your messages go unanswered, your first instinct might be to fix it. To reach out again, to remind them you're still here. But what if you didn't? What if, instead, you paused? What if you stepped back, not out of anger, but out of wisdom? That pause, that gentle detachment, is where your power begins to grow. Because in that space, you begin to untangle your worth from their behavior. You start to remember that being seen and valued is not something you have to earn. It's your birthright. You don't have to chase someone who isn't reaching back. Love is not something you should have to convince someone to feel. The right person doesn't need to be persuaded. They feel your value because they're ready to receive it. And here's something else that matters deeply. When you stop texting first, you give both of you a chance to see things clearly. You allow silence to become a mirror. In that mirror, they may begin to notice your absence, not because you withdrew to manipulate, but because you reclaimed your peace. They'll feel the shift. Because energy doesn't lie. People know when you've stopped overgiving. They notice when your availability becomes sacred. When your attention is no longer taken for granted. That shift changes everything, not just between you and them, but within you. Suddenly, the energy you were pouring into someone else begins to water your own roots. You start reconnecting with the things you love. You feel lighter, more grounded. You remember what it feels like to belong to yourself. This is what healing looks like. It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes, it's the quiet decision to no longer chase someone who doesn't choose you. Sometimes, it's the bravery of letting go, not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself more. Doing nothing may seem small, but it's actually an act of radical self-trust. It says, I don't need to convince you to see me. I see me. It says, I don't have to perform love. I embody it. It says, I'm no longer available for confusion. I choose clarity. In a world that teaches us to do more, to respond quickly, to stay connected at all costs, this is a quiet rebellion. A loving rebellion. One where your peace is no longer sacrificed for someone else's uncertainty. This stillness, this deliberate non-action, this is where your next chapter begins. Are you ready? Emotional discipline. Choosing peace over patterns. Let's talk about what no one teaches us early enough. Emotional discipline. Not the kind where you bury your feelings or pretend not to care, but the kind that helps you pause before reacting. The kind that whispers, you don't have to prove your worth through their response. Because here's the truth. Every time you reach out to someone who's inconsistent, every time you explain yourself again just to feel heard, every time you respond quickly after they disappear for days, you are reinforcing a cycle that's silently telling your heart, this is what love feels like. But is it? Is love supposed to feel like waiting? Is love supposed to feel like confusion? Is love supposed to feel like walking on eggshells, afraid that if you say the wrong thing, they'll vanish? When you build emotional discipline, you start recognizing the difference between love and attachment, between connection and chasing validation. And it's in this difference that your strength blooms. Emotional discipline sounds like this. I feel the urge to reach out, but I will sit with that urge instead. I want to fix this, but I will let space reveal what words cannot. I miss them, but I will not abandon myself to be close to someone who keeps me guessing. This is not cold. This is not cruel. This is maturity. It's healing. It's the quiet refusal to keep participating in a game that leaves you empty. Because if you always respond immediately, if you always explain, if you always chase, you're teaching the other person that they can show up however they want and you'll still be there. That's not love. That's self-abandonment. And you've done enough of that, haven't you? The moment you stop reacting from a place of fear, and begin responding from a place of truth, you break a pattern that has been hurting you more than helping you. You stop being available for mixed signals. You stop begging for clarity. You stop shrinking to be digestible. You stop choosing the version of yourself that's always hoping to be enough. Instead, you start choosing the version of yourself that remembers, I am already enough. I don't need to chase anyone who's confused about me. I don't need to explain why I deserve love. The people who are meant to walk with you won't need you to break your own heart to stay connected. They will meet you in that place of mutual respect, mutual effort, and mutual peace. That's the kind of love your soul craves. But to attract that kind of love, you need to first stop entertaining the kind that confuses you. And that begins with discipline. Emotional discipline is not about perfection. You will still feel the pull. You will still want to send that message, to check their stories, to revisit the last thing they said. But now, you will pause. Now, you will take a deep breath and say, I choose peace today. Not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself enough not to be tangled in emotional chaos again. And over time, this becomes your new pattern. A pattern of peace. A pattern of boundaries. A pattern of choosing you again and again. Until it's no longer a conscious decision, but a natural expression of who you are. Let the silence teach you. Let the waiting grow you. Let the stillness become your superpower. You are not what you tolerate. You are what you choose. In the quiet, when no one is watching. When your energy speaks louder than words. Have you ever noticed how some people walk into a room and immediately shift the atmosphere without even saying a word? That's the power of energy. And whether you realize it or not, you are always communicating through your presence, your silence, your self-respect. When you stop texting first, stop over-explaining, stop giving chances that haven't been earned, you're not going silent. You're speaking more clearly than ever. You're saying, I know my worth. I no longer trade peace for attention. I am not afraid of being alone if it means protecting my heart. And people feel that. They may not always tell you directly. But something shifts when your energy changes. When you stop being available by default. When you no longer respond to breadcrumbs with full course effort. You see, we teach others how to treat us not just through our words, but through what we allow, what we tolerate, and what we show up for. If you've always been the one initiating, always the one giving more, always the one holding space for someone who's barely present, you're sending a message that says, my love doesn't require effort. My presence doesn't require consistency. But now, you're rewriting that message. By doing less. By choosing peace over proving. By letting someone feel your absence instead of constantly proving your presence. This isn't about being cold. It's about being clear. It's about letting your energy do the speaking. And energy, when rooted in self-respect, is magnetic. Because here's the truth. We're drawn to people who feel steady, centered, and sure of themselves. Not because they play hard to get, but because their peace is palpable. It calms the chaos. And in a world full of noise, that calm is rare. That calm is attractive. When you operate from that grounded place, your energy creates a boundary without needing to draw a line. You don't need to say, I won't tolerate inconsistency. Your energy already makes that clear. You don't have to beg someone to change when your absence forces them to reflect. You don't have to demand respect when your silence reveals what words never could. And yes, some people may not respond the way you hoped. They might not chase. They might not apologize. They might disappear completely. Let them. Because their response is never about your worth, it's about their capacity. And their absence? It's just making room for someone who will see you. Who will show up. Who will honor the energy you've protected so carefully. There's a sacred kind of strength in letting things fall away that no longer serve the version of you you're becoming. So the next time you feel tempted to explain yourself again, the next time you want to prove your value to someone who hasn't earned access to your heart, the next time you reach for your phone, hoping this time they'll finally say what you've longed to hear, pause, breathe, and remember this. You don't need to speak louder. You just need to stand firmer. The right ones will hear you even in your silence. The power of patience and letting go of emotional ping-pong. Let's talk about one of the most exhausting patterns we fall into when our hearts are uncertain: the emotional ping-pong game. You send a message. They take hours or days to respond. You wait, overthink, reread every word. Then finally, just when you start to move on, they reappear, with a, hey. And suddenly, you're pulled back in. This cycle feels familiar, doesn't it? Like a pattern that keeps repeating. But this isn't connection. This isn't communication. This is a loop of anxiety disguised as attachment. It's emotional chaos. And no matter how sweet the highs may feel, they always come at the cost of your peace. Every time you text first out of fear, respond instantly to inconsistency, or give someone another chance to explain why they disappeared, you're reinforcing the belief that their behavior is acceptable. But here's something no one tells you clearly enough. You're allowed to stop playing. You're allowed to put the paddle down and walk away from the match. Not because you're bitter, not because you want to win, but because your peace is no longer negotiable. There is a difference between loving someone and losing yourself for them. There is a difference between connection and confusion. And you deserve the former, not the latter. You don't need to be the one who always understands, who always forgives too soon, who always sends the final message just to keep the door open. When you stop chasing and start observing, things become clear. If someone's presence depends on your effort, if their consistency only shows up after you pull back, if their interest is tied to your availability, that's not partnership. That's performance. And you weren't made to perform for love. Real love doesn't keep you guessing. Real love doesn't make you prove your worth. Real love sees you clearly. fully, and doesn't need silence to be reminded that you matter. But in the absence of real love, silence is your strength. It's what brings clarity to what's unclear. It's what breaks the loop of emotional dependence. And most importantly, it's what brings you back to yourself. Patience, true, grounded, intentional patience isn't passive. It's power. When you wait well, without begging, chasing, or pleading, you are declaring, I will not beg to be chosen. I will not sacrifice my sanity for a maybe. I will not let another person's inconsistency become my emotional baseline. You're not giving up, you're growing up. You're stepping into a version of you that knows. Peace is worth protecting. Time is worth valuing. And love, true love, is never confused about where it wants to be. So the next time they text late, or don't text at all. The next time you feel that pull to explain, to prove, to re-engage, ask yourself this: do I really want to be in something that requires me to shrink, chase, or lose sleep? Or do I want to build something steady, sacred, and secure, starting with myself? Because the moment you decide to stop reacting and start reflecting, you're free. You're free from games, free from confusion, free to feel whole, even in the waiting. And that freedom, that's what changes everything. Becoming the version of you that no longer chases. There comes a quiet moment, maybe in the stillness of an evening, or during that familiar ache in your chest, when you realize you're tired. Not just tired of the waiting or the silence, but tired of shrinking. Tired of chasing clarity in people who thrive in confusion. Tired of proving you're enough to someone who never made the effort to see you fully. And in that moment, something shifts. You stop asking, why hasn't he texted me? Did I say something wrong? Maybe if I just explain it better. You start asking instead, why am I allowing this to take up so much space in my heart? Why do I keep settling for less than I give? What would it look like to truly choose me? That's when you begin to meet the real you. The version of you who doesn't need to be chased because she's not running after anyone anymore. The version of you who doesn't beg for love, but becomes love itself. The version of you who no longer lives in reaction but in response. Calm, grounded, intentional. She no longer spirals from silence. She finds meaning in it. She no longer overanalyzes mixed signals. She walks away from them. She no longer places her worth in whether or not someone stays. Because she stays rooted in herself. This version of you doesn't try to be the cool girl who says nothing bothers her. She honors her feelings, but refuses to be led by fear. She doesn't ghost or play games. She simply withdraws her energy from what no longer honors her peace. You see, when you stop over-functioning in relationships, when you stop pouring into someone who's giving you drops, you finally have the space to nourish the one connection that sets the tone for all others. The connection with yourself. And the more you reconnect with her, your true self, the less tolerance you have for inconsistency, disrespect, or emotional chaos. You begin to realize that real strength isn't loud. It doesn't come from proving or persuading. It comes from quiet alignment. It's in the way you say no without guilt. In the way you choose to walk away with grace rather than hold on in desperation. In how you let go, not to punish but to protect your peace. You were never meant to keep proving your worth. You were meant to know it, own it, and embody it. And when you do, the world responds differently. People feel it. They sense the shift in your energy. You're no longer available for emotional breadcrumbing. You're no longer on call for inconsistent love. You become unavailable for anything that doesn't match your frequency. And it's not out of arrogance, it's out of deep, soulful self-respect. The kind of self-respect that says, I'm not looking for someone to complete me. I'm whole. And anything that enters my life must be in alignment with this wholeness. From this place, you don't chase. You attract. You don't react. You respond. You don't lose yourself to be loved. You love yourself too much to let that happen again. So here's your gentle reminder. You are not too much. You're not too sensitive. You're not asking for too much. You've just been offering your heart to places that could never hold it properly. That ends now. You don't have to cut people off with anger. You just have to cut the energetic cords that keep you small. Let silence do the talking. Let patience be your practice. Let peace be your standard. And let your healing begin not when they text back. Not when they apologize. Not when they come around again. But now. Right now. Because this version of you, the one rising in stillness. The one claiming her space. The one choosing to show up for herself every single time. She's the real you. And she's more than enough. Before we close this gentle space together, take one more deep breath. Inhale peace. Exhale the weight you no longer need to carry. You don't need to chase. You don't need to explain. You don't need to earn what should be freely and gently given to your heart. You are worthy, as you are, right here, right now. Thank you for allowing Whisper to Heal to walk beside you on this path of rediscovery and quiet strength. If this message touched something within you, if even one sentence felt like a soft mirror held to your soul, know that this space is always here for you. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to Whisper to Heal so you never miss a moment of healing, clarity, and soulful truth. Gently tap the like button to let the algorithm know that voices like yours, soft, deep, and tender, matter. And share this video with someone who might need to be reminded of their quiet power too. In the comments, I invite you to whisper one promise to yourself today. Just one. Maybe it's, I choose peace. Or, I no longer chase love, I become it. Whatever it is, speak it below. Your voice matters. Your healing matters. Until next time, be soft with your heart, and remember, the most magnetic version of you is the one who chooses herself. I'm holding space for you always. With love, Whisper to Heal.